So as you can see, it doesn't want to strike for whatever reason. It's just kind of just a little baby spark and that's it. Okay, so far, no luck. I don't know what to do. So why the 7018 is having issues, I don't know. Just kidding. I did figure it out. I get this feeling that you guys might have doubted that I was able to figure this out. After some extensive research, I did figure it out. I don't know if it was exactly why it wasn't striking, but I was able to get it to strike. Whatever it was, it works for me. I don't know if it will work for you, but it definitely worked for me. So let me show you what I did. Might have went a little too short here, but I was trying to finish the run. What do you want me to do? Finish the run. See, I am able to, it's not pretty, but I am able to get it to weld now at 7018. I don't know if you guys can see that, but you know, every time it strikes and goes out, it forms this kind of slag over the metal to protect itself. And that's also why it makes it really, really hard to restrike these bad boys. Oops. As I ran it over to kind of finish up the run, I accidentally stuck it back in the weld pool and stuck it. And I'll tell you exactly why that happened. Because hold on. Let me turn that off so there's less noise. Instead of me filing it like I said I had previously to make better contact with the electrode to the working metal, I was just trying to tap it so that I can get down to the actual electrode metal, and I had a hard time striking it at the beginning, obviously. So as I got down to the end, it actually literally welded itself back into the puddle. Wow, that's crazy. I'm banging on this pretty good and I still can't get it through to the metal. And that's why it's easier to just use a file. There you go. Wow. Wow, that's all still really hot. Craziness. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, so let me break this down and tell you how I got the 7018 to actually strike. It was a couple of things. And you know how this works, right? A couple of compounded problems makes one big problem. Trying to figure it out, do one thing, it doesn't work, do another thing, it doesn't work, and then finally when you do all of those things, it works. So basically my theory was correct. I didn't actually check the power at the wall outlet, but there definitely isn't enough power going to the workpiece. At 110 volts, this thing puts out 90 amps, max. That's the bare minimum what a 7018 would use to strike an arc in 1/8 inch metal. I mean, I'm sure you can go smaller electrode and also thinner metal, but this is what we're using. So 90 amps, so that was what was required for me to get this to strike, because as I started at 85 amps, usually when the work was cold and the electrode was the longest, like brand new ones, I had a hard time striking, as you saw. Now, as the workpiece got warmer, I was able to strike, like let's say I had welded with 90 amps and stopped, put a new stick in, and then tried to strike with 85 amps, I could strike at 85 amps. It's because, I'm guessing, it's because the workpiece was a little warmer already, so it was able to push the 85 amps through to the workpiece. Okay, second thing, it was about prepping the metal. The metal itself, let me show you. Hopefully you can see this from this distance right here, but so your typical steel would look like this, right? It's got this kind of gray kind of covering on it, and that's called mill scale. When you prep your metal and you grind off all the mill scale, it has this kind of shiny appearance. It looks like this. So what I did was I prepped the metal and I ground it down to this bare metal and then clamped the workpiece down to do work with it, and that helped it strike because obviously it's making better conductivity. So lastly, in regards to prepping metal, what I did was also ground down the part where I put the ground clamp so that it itself makes better contact with the workpiece, thus allowing the circle of, I guess, power. So there's less resistance basically. Lastly, the last adjustment that I made to get the 7018 arc to strike was that I took the electrode and I basically, even if it was brand new and long, I basically choked down on it to help me like drag and strike the arc. When it was long and brand new, basically it was like, it's like holding this big, huge, like wobbly stick, and you're just kind of like going like this, and you don't even know how it reacts in that sense. So it was kind of hard to get it to strike. But when you choke down on it initially and kind of hit it and strike with like a little bit more force, it was able to, one, when it wanted to ignite, it ignited, and then when it did ignite, it wasn't like flinging around and then going out. It was held there because obviously you had a little bit more control. But that was the last adjustment I made to be able to get these to strike. And boy, what a frustrating process this was. The cool part about this process for me is the learning process. So, you know, every time I weld, every time I stick, every time I get stuck, every time I get an airplane that comes by, I was able to make adjustments as I was having problems, and obviously doing research, learning, like trying new things and making it work, and you know, ultimately you learn from it, and that's, you know, what I find fun in this whole thing. In between all that, you gotta weld a lot. I mean, these aren't pretty. I don't know if you can see that. These aren't pretty. They're not pretty. This one's really ugly. But, you know, stacks on stacks on stacks of learning. This is hot. This one's from today, and this is all 7018. So it's not 6013, but the 7018 right here, I mean, it doesn't look too bad for a beginner. I'm not gonna say they're pretty. They're not even cleaned up or anything like that. I mean, there's a big, huge blob of molten from, you know, when I initially started, when this piece, like I said, when this piece was cold, it was definitely difficult to get it to strike at 85. And then, like, you know, in one of the instances where there was this big, huge, long electrode still sticking out from underneath the flux, it literally lit and melted like this big, huge, whatever you want to call that. I'm holding the electrodes more firm so that the welds are obviously looking a little bit straighter and a little bit more consistent, I guess, is what I'm looking for, and that's what practice is all about. So gonna keep going. But definitely got a stack of these bad boys right here cut out. As you can see, this one's already ground and prepped and, you know, basically ready for welds. But I'm gonna keep going and keep practicing. I'm even gonna try some different kinds of welds here in the near future as I cut these smaller pieces to kind of maybe do fillets, or maybe I try and weld a small box or something. All right, we're losing light here, so I'm gonna wrap this video up. You guys make sure you like, subscribe, comment if you will. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time. Bye.